Alrighty, we are live. Alrighty, we are live.
Hello, hello, hello. We're up.
Alrighty, we are live.
Huh.
Hello.
Hearing everything. What is up? Hey, how's everyone going? Tonight's gonna be quite a quick one to be honest, because it's already 10 o'clock at night, and I've got other plans that I'm trying to do, but I need to start sketching logos, and that's the kind of the idea. I've got last time I talked about it is the hazy stuff. I'm trying to build my own studio, and I need sort of a logo to help me do that. And I thought, you know what? Might as well just start sketching on stream. And that's what I'm going to do. So I had a look around the other day. And I found my old Wacom tablet. So plug it in, see if it still works. We'll jump into Photoshop and who knows? Maybe something will come from it. But maybe not. If not, we'll have some fun stories, and in an hour's time, we'll call it done and have a look another time. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. And then we'll go from there. What is my hair doing? Anyway. But that's kind of the idea. I just need to start sketching. I put it off for quite a while. Because I got really busy with work. Which just happens. And I need to just like lock in and go for it. But I'm back, you know, I've been streaming like nearly every day this week. Which is kind of crazy. But let's set this up. Photoshop. Oh, I've got to install all Wacom information and stuff too. Annoying. That's okay. This tablet I've had now since I was 17. I'm now 27. So hopefully it still does its job. You can still see like all its scratches and stuff. Because I used to use this all the time for like illustration work. Because it's just easier. And I know I'm going to be sketching on here, but I don't usually do that. I usually sketch on just pen and paper. Like, I think I've got around now probably about, I don't know, 15 notebooks on the go. And then I've got like things like, get ready for this. Like this fucking big bad boy. Which is an amazing book, by the way. So if you ever wanting to get into logos or anything, jump into this. Restart later. I don't want to restart now. Boom. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Ooh. Okay, so this is work then? Can I just use it? Or no? Or wrong direction? Yeah, cool. Okay, let us do a quick thing of how to make this work and look pretty. Because I'm going to throw the there, and then I just want to duplicate this scene and call it Photoshop. And then I'm going to make myself relatively big. What? What? There we go. I know I'm in full screen right now. You can't see what I'm doing. I'm in studio mode at the moment. So I will, I'm just trying to bring myself up, or put me there, and then crop me in, which is that button. And then flip it. Boom, Photoshop. And then I don't want anything crazy. I just want to be able to draw. That's too big. I have nothing set up in this because I haven't used it in forever. Hardness, let's drop that down. And then I want to turn it into full screen. Can I Can I go actual like full screen? What's the thing here? Actually, let's put some music on. What am I doing? If I still remember what it's called, I was using was it this? Yeah, that's right. There we go. A little bit of tunes in the background while we sketch. I forgot. Screen mode. Full screen mode. Yes. There we go. But it is not actually full screen? What? What do you mean? Whatever. We can have the bars. And then, why is that sensitivity all cooked? Why are you not being full? Should be. Hardness. It doesn't matter. Okay. A little bit smaller. And kind of the idea is, with like logo stuff, is we just want to like keep them like relatively like squarish. That should be a good like size, I think. Okay, my sensitivity is like super way down, but wait, calm. Tablet driver is not responding. That's why. Is this gonna work for me then? It is. Yeah. All right. We'll do this for now, and we'll fix it another time. That can go up a little bit. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So last time when we were looking at like my stuff, is that Hazy, for instance, is like the idea is like creativity. I can't spell. Oh my lord. Let's say, okay, so creativity, essentially, you come to me with an idea that isn't quite clear, and you got to try and figure out what that actually is, you know? Like, what is the... How do we fix that? What's the solution? And this could be any sort of access, and I like to work with brands. So, I want to get that essence in there, and we can try and get away with just, like, basic stuff, you know? Let's zoom in more. Of, like, you know... Like, oh, maybe not that far. 200. Like, obviously, like, there's normal H's. There's the ones that you can do like this, and we can have these kind of H's. My ratio is dog shit. Let's fix this. I don't care about the resolution. Like, just bump that boy. That's not what I typed, was it? It was. Alright, zoom in. That's better. Alright, so yeah, we got like normal H's, you know, like this sort of stuff. You got the serif sort of H's, the hazy. You've got things like... Full circle, please. You know what? Bump that thing up. I'm just going to do this. And then erase it out. You know, like this sort of stuff, where we got like the hazy sort of like backgrounds that kind of exist. It sucks that my pen's not working properly. Doesn't matter. This sucks. I don't get why it's doing this. Like, it's just running an airbrush for some reason. I don't want to draw with my hand. Just getting no sensitivity, I guess. Well, it is, but like, I have to push down like real hard. And it's just grey. But anyway. Doesn't matter. Maybe the good way to do this is just all black. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, that works. But yeah, you know this sort of idea where it's like, hang on, let's erase this. Alright, back to it. Yeah, where you got like the circles. And then you've got like the horizon line that like comes through. Why is that? Through here. And you have that kind of idea. There's also things like you could go a more like a wavy sort of a H. You know, like is there something like in that where it feels like smoke or mist that's moving? Or do you do something that kind of like wraps together and comes in and creates that like circular sort of shape? Fuck. I need to drop that pen size down. Let's go 4. That's better. Yeah, do you do something like that where you like have more of a actual like shape of like a circle that kind of like matches up and it's more like wavy patterns that kind of like work together? And we end up with like a full sort of like circular thing again, that kind of idea. Which could be fun. Or is there something in here of like, do we just do like the full actual like hazy title in like all caps? I don't really like that. There we go. There's that. What other ideas could we think of? Like haze. It's kind of all like smoky sort of stuff, isn't it? Like there's something interesting in this sort of a shape where it's like very curved and like out there and wavy. And I've done an idea with this recently where I was looking at like a flag with that kind of idea, which is quite cool. But at the same time, it's like, can't steal everything that you've done in the past. But there's something interesting about that. And the same thing is like, you can shape this stuff off. There's also the idea of like, hang on, let's do it over here. Like these ones where you do this and then you have your shape getting cut out within it. That's also an idea. I just want to get all like the obvious ones out so that I don't think about them anymore. Do you do something that is more of like a wispy sort of thing, you know? Like do you do something that is kind of like that sort of route where it's more smoky? By the way, hands down, have not used a tablet in so long. It feels so weird to use it again because I've been so like technical drawing and I have all grid paper stuff now when I sketch, and I'm very rough with pencil. Whereas like with a tablet, even though it is like rough, I wish that I had the settings on so that my pressure was right. but like it's just got a different feeling. A little technique that we used to use when I was studying is like we'd put a piece of paper on so it felt like texture, and it was really nice. Which I'm honestly thinking that might not be a bad idea to go down and do, but actually, while I'm on it, I'm just thinking from like thinking back when I was like studying, it's like my first art teacher the first time I met my art teacher, he had let's say I want to try and sketch this and say the story at the same time. That's why I'm like stumbling over my words. But it's like the first time I met my art teacher, he had a circular and square lens in his glasses, and he was a little Czech man that was a little, like bald, and he had a scruffy beard. This is horrible. We'll just give him a little body. He just looks like a bag on his head now. But he told me something that I'd never forget, and that was to, like, you must know the rules before you break them. And it's something that I, like, really have taken on over the years. Which, yeah, kind of nice. I need to get better at my storytelling stuff. Actually, thinking back too, it's like other things from like art school. I need to fix my camera because I'm like in a weird spot on everything. That's a bit better. So technically, I should be here. Sorry. That's better. All right. Yeah, back in art school. So, my first ever life drawing session, there was like a little stage in here, and everyone was positioned around like this. And a guy walked in, and we'll call him Ken. He came in just full drop trout, completely. And there were like rafters going above this area, and he just went up and grabbed one, and all we saw was just whack on his leg. Scarred me for years now. Fun times. Anyway, back to logos. There-ish. Yeah. Logos are kind of a hard one, you know. It's kind of, it like the ideas come at random times. I sometimes struggle completely, and then I'll get a idea at like 3 in the morning that like something will happen, and it's kind of just like the beauty of this sort of stuff, and I love it. But you never know, like something like this sort of thing. Oh, there's also that idea of like, you do something like this and then have all like the speckles like coming off and like having it blurred. You know what I mean? That could be a fun idea. Where it's like the actual mark itself gets blurred out. It's just very hard to print. But then, like, the same thing is, like, you use grids and set them up that sort of route. Because, like, you get, like, these H's start to form immediately with this sort of stuff. And it's kind of like, out of this sort of thing, is there something here that you can, like, pull from, you know? I obviously don't want just, like, a static H. To me, that's boring. Like, I want something that's more interesting, but is there something in this, you know? Like I was saying before, do you get this and do you start going like, okay, this H, for instance, what happens if it does have that kind of wavy sort of pattern in it, you know? Like, what happens if it is this kind of like route? And do you even need that like middle mark? Can you just do something like this? Well, kind of, because it looks like double S, which is not a good route, but, you know. That's how that stuff sort of happens, you know. This one's kind of cool. There's something interesting in this where it's, like, very smoky. And I wonder, is there a way to make something, a cool sort of mark out of this that feels less S-shaped and more, like, is there something here where we can make more of a H mark, you know? Because right now it's not feeling that way, but it is cool to get that kind of like wispy sort of feel in it, you know? It's just like when you go too much, you do get that S shape, but you can get that kind of like really cool sort of like sharpness to it, like very smoky. And then the problem is, like I said, like this starts to feel like an S, which I don't want. But at the same time, it doesn't have to have a H in it. It could just be a very abstract sort of mark. But at the same time, you want to have it like around the concept, you know, like does it feel trustworthy? Does it feel recognizable? Is it memorable? Is it simple? I'm going to turn this music down a little bit. It is breaking my brain being this loud. So there's all kinds of like things like that I'm just trying to like think of at the same time, but it's like we're just sketching. I got no clue at the moment. If there's something that I find nice or I think will be a good direction to take in, I'll usually go into Illustrator from there and I'll start actually like breaking it down and refining it more. Because at this stage, I could not care less. It's just getting the idea down, you know, like this is why I'm saying like, you can see it multiple times now, but it's like this S sort of shape that feels more smoky, bridging the gap into a H, but at the same time, it's like very much a weird sort of a pattern that feels very smoky. I'm trying to get that like more wrapped sort of look in here that like kind of comes together there and it feels like a smoke trail going up, which could be quite cool. Something in that. There's something in there. There's like, I'm not fully against this kind of route. This is something interesting. At the same time, I do see double S, which I'm not too keen on the moment, but I wonder if there's a way to break that and fix that. What else? What are some words for haze? Google thesaurus haze. So obviously like things like mist, blur, this is the idea I said before too. Like if you have that kind of like you could even just do a square that then like kind of blurs off here-ish, you know? I drew that so bad. But let's do this and then do like that kind of a thing, you know? Like maybe it blurs off into the background. That was too much. Like that. And I had it at what? Like 4? 6, 4? Yeah. Which could be quite fun, could be quite interesting, you know? And then what are some other words? Confusion, obscurity, vapor. Yeah, you could go that kind of route where it's more like water droplets. But the problem is with water droplets, it's got a very renewable sort of vibe to it. Or it's got that kind of like plumbing sort of connotation to it as well, which is not the best. But there's something like, I always like this kind of thing that like meets in the middle and you have that kind of like really nice shape. I like the idea of middle. That's kind of an interesting, because like haze also means like confusion. But it's also like yeah, like cloudy air. So that's where I'm like kind of thinking around this like really like smoky sort of vibe. It probably doesn't need to be double. Maybe it is just like a one strip that is like breaks off, you know, and has that. It's too S-ish. Maybe I just go the other way and do something like, oh, I struggle to draw it the other direction. But maybe it's like that sort of thing where it's like wraps in and folds itself a bit more. And then you want like a trail coming back or something. Gotta be very careful with this though. It starts to look very strange. Apparently haze means soup. Do we just draw a little bowl? Little bowl of steamy soup. What else? Like, there's also like, we could do like cross sections and cross hatches and stuff like that. What is there? Like, I keep just going because like you got the H. That is like the main letter. Now, when it comes to logos too, it's like, yes, it is nice to try and get a bit of meaning in there and everything, but at the end of the day, it's just an identifier. Now, when you do a H and then another H and you got the word mark next to it, it's a little weird because you double it up. Well, this is quite abstract, you know? That gets into like a K sort of route, but there is something interesting about like the serifs, you know? And getting into that kind of a route. God, I struggled to draw with tablet again. It's very interesting. But there is something in this, and I wonder, is there like something that you can do inside this kind of like counter, you know? Like, is there something in this? Actually, is there something in just this? And having that kind of an idea where you're using the counter of it to be like kind of playing into that idea of like it exists but you don't actually know about it. Like, what happens if you double it and you go for that like double things, and having like the H that kind of like exists but it's like negative, and these are like in, and this is where you could go that blur sort of effect again. Is that something that's playable? Maybe. I kind of don't mind just the little little thing like this, but at the same time it's got like a weird balance because of these. That's always fun. This is where I like these sort of like ideas that come from, you know, it's like, is there something that's around? Like, do you just use like the top of the H? Is there something in that? This kind of just starts to look like a table or like a bench seat. So I think I'd rather play into like this sort of a route where it's like that blurriness or the smokiness kind of an idea. Because I think the big thing is that I want is like a nice mark that I could throw on a hat and go, here you go, nice. Or like on a little bit of mark on like his jumper or shirt, you know? And having something that's very clean and easy to use. That's the kind of like key things. But that's kind of like the, yeah, you know what I mean? That's the kind of idea. Anyway, any other stories that I can kind of tell? Actually, I went for, so a few years ago, I had double jaw surgery, and what was it? Yeah, a couple of years ago, I had double jaw surgery, and I was like, hospitalized for months. Fuck, I'm horrible at storytelling, but it is also 10:30 at night, and I am trying to draw at the same time. I don't want to put this stuff out because I think I can make like fun, like they're nice little clips that I can share around, you know, a little bit of fun personal stuff. I just suck at telling them when I'm doing it at the same time. Right, clean slate. Oh. Yeah, so, okay. I had double jaw surgery a couple years back, and it was to fix my jaw that was like full cooked. But one of the fun things is that when I went for my first consultation, is that they said to me, "Oh, do you want to fix your nose as well?" Not really. Thanks though. Like, how rude. I can't believe it. Like, I was like going in because my smile was all cooked and I really wanted to fix it, and they had to cut both my top and bottom jaw and put metal plates in. Which is like a big procedure. But for the fact of like when I first go in and they say to me, "Do you want to fix your nose as well?" No, I don't. Like, what the fuck? But this is the sort of shit that I like dealt with when I was growing up. I can't, like, no wonder there's self-esteem issues around. Jesus Christ, even your own doctor like attacks you. That is BMW. So we're not gonna be doing this one. Let us zoom out. Actually, I'm going to grab all these, boom, and just shrink them, and we'll zoom in. I'm getting comments and stuff at the moment. What other sort of like cool ideas can we mess with? So, like, the biggest thing is when I've looked up like Haze logos and stuff too, because I want to see how other people kind of achieve that look. And it's so weird. Like, it's not a very common thing, because there's the drug aspect around it too, you know? It's like Purple Haze and stuff where they do like the big bubble text letters and ugh, not interested. Or they do like the marijuana leaf, you know what I mean? And they do this kind of like idea as well, where it's like just hinting at like a leaf. It's also the other side too, is where I think people get just like stuck in the fact of like, oh, I need a logo, and they just do something like this. And they just do like basic text, which is okay, but like this will be like a word mark, you know? I don't want that for this. I want something that's a symbol that I can throw on my website, throw on my studio's website, put it on shirts, put it on the back of anything, and have something really nice. By the way, I'm not planning to solve this tonight at all. This is just to get me started so that I can go and click through the ideas. Because I was working on another project the last couple months, and it's like, now my brain's free to think about something else. And And then like this whole stuff, like this here, what I'm trying to do with streaming and everything and content creation, for me is just a big brand challenge. And I'm very curious to see, can I create an identity out of myself? And so far, no. So far, I'm struggling. It's not working as easy as I thought it would be, which is very fun. And it just comes down to like, does my personality suck? Am I comfortable on camera? Is there other aspects that are in play? You know, like, do I need to just get better at storytelling? That's obviously yes. That is just something that comes with time and experience. When you're talking very naturally, it's very easy. But when it comes to like, say for instance, when you're trying to like make stuff that is like clippable or to edit down further, you need to be able to tell a story in a very linear way or have a kind of like gap or breaks in the way you speak so that it's very easy to edit. Which is why you see a lot of things that are scripted or pre-planned and stuff like that. And I find it interesting. At the same time, I struggle with that. But this is the thing, is this is where the retention comes from. Because like, for instance, TikTok, like you got to hit within the first 2 seconds. You just do, or else you'll have huge drop off. And I'm experiencing that big time. And I kind of shot myself in the foot because I am meant to be doing this sort of stuff. Meant to be doing design. And I like games, and I like music, and I like this sort of stuff. I like talking, and I like talking about strategy and thought processes and life updates and kind of like those sort of things. Not so much the execution of design. Because that stuff, like I've been doing it for 10 years now, you know? And it's like, it takes time. And watching that sort of stuff is boring. It just is. Like, watching execution work is boring. Even like right now doing this, I'm chatting. I'm trying to talk through things. I'm not talking about, oh, I want my logo to do this, and then sit in silence for 50 minutes. Because that's what I would do at work. I'd be pumping music. I'd be listening to while she sleeps and just fucking going at it. And I have all my design books here in this room that I'd be referencing and looking over and doing a bunch of research. So this is not my normal process. Like, I don't even use this sort of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, is there that kind of element, you know? Ooh, actually, is there something in that where you do this kind of split out one so it like doesn't feel as obvious and it's more of like a slanted thing? The only problem is like when you do a word mark here, there's a big white space and it'd be hard to scale. But it's kind of interesting. You can also go like super abstract and you go like the, like, you know, like the barbell kind of like idea. But that starts to get like quite sporty. And I think that's not the route that I want to go. I'll drag you over there, shrink you down a little bit. Like, we obviously don't want to go that route because it does feel like a sports sort of brand, you know? What was I saying? I don't know. It's late at night. I had a full day of like meetings and everything too, because just busy with work. So my brain is like cooked. I'm also writing things in the background, dealing with outside clients and freelancing. It's like my post tonight, for instance, I filmed, edited, posted, jumped on here after I got home from the gym. So that's fun. After I finish this, I'm jumping into bed and I'm watching Game Changer because I want to see that. I'm halfway through it because I was watching it while I was eating dinner. I'm just an old man. Old man that got fat. So, like, obviously there's a box. And within the box, there's 3 wolves. But there's something in this sort of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is there something in the side of, like, do you do something that's, like, more 3D-ish? And having this kind of a thing that's open. And having that kind of, like, mark inside that, like, kind of, like, really breaks out. is there something in... I'm using a lot of H's at the moment because it's the first ideas, the things that come into your head. But, like, is there something in, for instance, like, you do something that is, like, kind of like that 3D sort of mark, that it has perspective to it? You know, like, there'd be another point there, and they match together. And then you could do, like, the intertwining stuff, you know, and you do this sort of thing. But at the same time, this doesn't feel very hazy. It doesn't feel like a incomplete an incomplete idea. I like that. Something missing. Something that's not quite there yet. Something that is distant or something that is disconnected. That's a fun concept. Something that is like broken in the middle, you know? Something that doesn't actually like have a pathway yet. Like, is there something around that sort of a concept, you know? Is like there's something that it just hasn't met up yet? Is there something that is like incomplete? This is why I'm going back to like this kind of concept over here too, where it's like that blurry sort of one. There's something in that where it's just like it's an incomplete idea. The concept's there, but it just isn't formed fully. I like that. And I think there's something at play with that sort of stuff, you know? Just something that's like very full and then has a kind of drops off, you know? There's something in that. Because like I said, there's that. So if I use a box as like a basis, and then if you do that kind of a thing, so like this filled up here, but then it like blurs off, and then it keeps going, it might spread to like be more like a rectangle sort of shape. And then you have your word mark there. That could be fun. But I like that idea. I like the idea of something not connected, something that's a little broken, something that's not fully formed. Same thing too, maybe it's like the building blocks or something, you know, and it's just like one of them doesn't actually like exist yet, or like isn't fully done, or you know, like that pyramid sort of a thing. Or do you go the route of like that interconnectedness that it doesn't actually like fully connect, you know, like where it's something like this. I fucked that up, but you get what I mean. Something around that sort of route where it's like the three shapes that kind of like blend together, but they're not actually touching or mixed together. They're a bit more open. Or it has, let's say, like that sort of like cube shape inside of it. So it's like this. That. You know, and then it has that like sort of mark in the middle that exists. This is like a bunch of fluff, or a GameCube. It's the same thing too. Is there like a mix of like different shapes or something, you know, that can be formed, that kind of like indicate that sort of idea? Like I was saying before, like there is that idea of like the different sort of like levels of lines, similar to like if you go back to like the retro days of like Miami Vice, those kind of like retro lines, you know, the ones that like blend off into the background. They've got kind of a haze feel to them, which is interesting because it's like a sunrise kind of like idea. There is something about that perspective disappearing. What else? Yeah, I kind of like that. Like, do you do something that is that kind of like curvature, like we were talking about before, where it's more like smoky, and then it just slightly like gets thinner and thinner and thinner. But then it kind of looks like radio signals, you know, it's kind of got that Wi-Fi sort of vibe, so maybe that's not the right route. But didn't know it until I put it down. What up, Jack? How you going, brother? I'm sketching logos. Sick. Do you have to put your phone number in? Oh. My auto mod got you for misogyny. Yeah, maybe don't say that. Oh, you need to authenticate your phone number. Damn. Look, I found my old Wacom tablet. Yeah, dude, that's the exact same with me. I got problems with my stuff too because of that. My account's connected to something else as well. Fate Trigger. I'm gonna jump off here in 10 minutes, and I can play a game with you. How's that sound? Alrighty. Just trying to get a start on my like logo stuff for the studio. To get some basic ideas down. Oh, actually, what happens if it is like that kind of like concept where you do like the world and atoms? Kind of like it when it's messy. And has more rings. No, that starts to look like React. Something super simple. Like, you go, what, Xbox? It's kind of hard because haze is like something that is very airy, you know what I mean? It doesn't really have like a tangible look or feel. We have representations of how that kind of like goes with like movement lines and like that kind of thing. Like I said before, like the water droplets, but then you get into like plumbing sort of areas, which makes it kind of difficult. You also have things like I said, like these kind of things. You got a mix of like letters. I wonder if there's something in the full thing, like let's, you know, and then you have like the negative space that makes up the H and that kind of an idea, you know what I mean? That's kind of looking like a B at the moment, but you know what I mean? Like, is there something in that? But it's very groovy. It's got a very like hipsterish retro sort of vibe. But there's something in that. I think there's something interesting in this kind of route. So I'm going to mark that as well. This one and this one I think are very similar. This one I think is a very blur one, but I struggle to think of any prints of stuff, which I want to do. I want to do some print stuff in the future. Hey, you followed. Amazing, dude. Thanks for following, guys. Welcome back to the stream. All that fun jazz. Oh yeah, what did you think of my little tutorial before? I saw your comment. Just thinking, like, We Are Motto does like a really nice flag where they do something like this, and they have it cut here, the other way. They do a really nice like flag idea. Which is quite cool, but it's all about like leadership and like blacking it down. I'm very confused. That's because you have no idea what I'm talking about, dude. You think I make birthday cards for a living. There you go. You know what? Let's make it 2-tiered. My Wacom tablet, haven't plugged it in ever. I had to install the drivers, so I actually need to restart it. So all the sensitivity, all the drivers don't work. I'm running on it raw. That's why it looks so weird. Doesn't have any sensitivity. Mine's, I bought this when I was 17. So it's been with me for a while. It's still working, which I'm surprised with. And then the same thing too is I have not used this in about 2 years. So it's very, very weird to use it tonight. Ah. I like them. They're fun. They're hard to use. They feel so different. Like a little trick we used to do when I was in TAFE was we'd put paper on them so that it felt like we were actually drawing on them because it has a weird texture. I want to get one of those like actual monitor ones. I think that'd be sick. Yeah, I've been thinking about getting an iPad, just for what's the program? Not Clip Studio, whatever the other one's called. Because I want to illustrate more. I haven't drawn in years properly. Yeah, Canva. Canva's the program that we're talking about. 100%. It's 11 o'clock. You know what? Let's call it done, eh? And we'll play some games. I'm buggered. I've had such a big day. Alrighty. Anyone that watches the stream or comes back and sees it in YouTube, Twitch, whatever, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoy it. Subscribe, follow me, look at all my channels, all that fun jazz. I hope you enjoy, even though I've just been spouting shit because it's late at night. Still. I need to get better at storytelling. That's one thing I do know. Because I struggle to concentrate on stuff like this and talk. But it happens. Anyway. Catch you later. Goodbye. Bye now. See ya. Make sure you follow me or else I'll find where you live. Goodbye.